Hello and welcome back to FCMP, the Football Magazine podcast, alongside Emmanuel and John. I'm Ryan. Let's get going, boys. Emmanuel, your rotation is on lock because you're horizontal. But Emmanuel, we got a chance to talk to you in Atlanta, and John, we haven't had a chance to talk to you since you and the rest of your team went on mental health break. First and foremost, Spain had that first tough result versus Cabo Verde, but bounced back very nicely against the Saudis. How's everything looking over in Spain?
Honestly, it was not the result we wanted for the first game, but to be honest, I mean, I got a lot of text messages and everyone's like, "Oh my God, Spain, whatever." It's like it's one of those games, like pressures of the World Cup, things didn't go our way, but I think it's very different than Uruguay tying game against Cape Verde. We didn't concede a goal, we didn't concede any chances, we just didn't put the ball in the back of the net. So it was a really good game against Saudi Arabia. Get back into what we can do. And ultimately now it's in our hands to get a good results against Uruguay and go first in the group. But to be honest, just in general, I don't know what you guys think, but I feel like there's a lot of teams wins mean less. Even just going through as a third is just like basically almost every national team is going through. So I've just been a little bit, no, I'm not going to say disappointed, but um, I'm just excited for the next round to see the games that actually matter in a way.
I was gonna say because you were down there in Atlanta for that second Spanish game with the Saudis at that point, and you got a front row seat on how everything went, especially with how maybe things didn't necessarily pan out in terms of the wins and losses, at least in that first game. But you got a chance to get a little bit of that backstage access, a little bit to hear directly from the personnel of the Spanish group, from the Saudi group, and even from the Cape Verde group a couple of days back in terms of like group H and what this could come down to, especially with game day, decision day coming up on Friday. What's kind of been the overall outlook of at least how Group H looks with Spain having their 4 points, Uruguay and Cabo Verde each having their two, and Saudi having their one. Like things are still very open in going into that decision day game.
Yeah, I mean, I think nobody really expected neither Spain to draw against Cabo, okay, and Uruguay. I mean, nobody expected them to have the game they had and concede a goal. So it's just interesting. But the Spanish team was different. The second time around, the Spanish team was definitely in better like spirits. First game, they didn't want to talk to anybody. Actually at training prior to the Saudi game, they were talking about how the media was just making things up about you know them being upset with the situation. Which I mean, anybody's gonna be upset, but the way the media was portraying it was just not what was going on in the locker room. Everybody was just moving on to the Nets and trying to get ready for Saudi, which they clearly did well on.
I mean, and then you also have the positive note too of like Lamine Yamal getting on the score sheet, even though he was, benched in the first game due to injury. And then you have this super important third game with Uruguay where, a lot of things maybe not necessarily hang in the balance, but there's definitely some sort of intrigue there, right? Especially if Cape Verde continue on their run, maybe beat the Saudi team going into that third day. And then all of a sudden that Uruguay Spain game becomes ever so more important. I was actually doing some really fun number crunching like I typically do. And one of the most like fun and I think kind of crazy hypotheticals I got into was the possibility of Cabo Verde beating Saudi Arabia. And then what would be the outcome of the Spain Uruguay game, right? There is a hypothetical scenario where Cabo Verde wins this group if Uruguay beats Spain and if Cabo Verde beats Saudi Arabia, and then you can only know what happens there. Like the other day, like especially with how this Cabo Verde group is, I'm sure Emmanuel might have more on that of like how much they're really taking this run and just kind of running with it as much as they can and just building off it game in and game out.
Yeah, I mean, don't really have
Yeah,
a
I mean
whole
that
lot
goes
of.
back a little bit to start.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Amanda. Sorry.
You go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I was just gonna say that that part is cool that we're going to the final day with crazy scenarios happening, but at the same time, for me, it's just been a little bit hard when there's like almost every team goes through. Like Spain, Cape Verde, and Uruguay are probably going to go through, and you can almost go through without even winning a game in the group stage. And they're adding an extra game in the knockout stage, fine, but yeah, I'm a little bit of a hater when it comes to this stuff, and it is fun for the fans, but I think winning means less, and teams can just go out and defend and know that if they just die, they might just go through.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, plus, even Mauricio Pochettino was talking about that, and it could be argued that this format mainly benefits the American way of looking at sports and doing sports and entertaining and, creating more games for more viewership, more ticket sales. So while it is good to see more teams that we wouldn't have seen otherwise, like Cape Verde, and who were the other guys? Forget. Uh, but yeah,
The
I mean,
Saudis, they were in that group.
no, but I'm saying like the other team that would have definitely not qualified had it not been like a 48 team.
Curacao?
Curacao,
I mean,
and yeah. So I mean, while it is a good thing to see like smaller teams make it, it does affect a little bit of the competition element to it. So yeah, but let's talk about your dad going
Have you
viral
guys
for
heard about
posting.
the?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was gonna say, have you guys seen about the Austria Algeria game, where basically they just need to tie in order for both to go through, and hypothetically, the team that loses is gonna have a better draw than the team that wins, because the team that wins that game will probably have to play against Spain, and the other one will play either Belgium or I forget what it was. I was reading an article about it, and it's crazy because they're gonna go into that last game thinking, let's go on and score 5 own goals, because this is going to give us a better chance to advance after the knockout stage, which is crazy to think. I don't know if you can pull it up, Ryan, or if you've read about it, but I was reading about that, and it's just insane. How teams now are going to be doing all the math and seeing where they're going to fall in the bracket depending on whatever result they make.
I mean, doing that for a third place team is super risky. You could, because here's going to be my counter argument to that. Because you mentioned, how it kind of maybe waters down some of the competition and especially the winning aspect of it. But you can also make the argument that as this tournament goes along, especially from 32 down to 1, you're going to get more of those top teams down the line. And I think that argument can be made because, you look at Germany, who was eliminated in the group stage the last 2 World Cups. Mexico was eliminated in the last World Cups group stage. You look at teams like that, and you
I
want to
think that's
give them
good,
a
though.
legit fighting chance. No, I'm not,
I
you
don't.
think it's good to have those? You think it's good
I
having
don't.
some
If
teams
you,
get grouped out?
yeah, of course, because they're not good enough to get out of the group stage. I mean, it just makes it easier for those teams. I mean, that's why with this format, it's like, okay, yeah, great. There's a lot of teams that are winning, and basically, there's been no upsets. Like the biggest upset is Uruguay tying Cape Verde, or Spain, but none of the smaller teams have really beaten any of the big teams, and I feel like that takes a little bit away from like the tournament itself. Like the same way when we college basketball, when it goes to the tournament, the NCAA tournament, those are the fun games, right? When Cape Verde beats Spain, even on Spanish, I'll be like, okay, good for you guys. Like that's amazing. So I get your point that we're gonna get to see the best teams more, but we're just guaranteeing that they're all gonna go through, and just taking away if you don't win this game, there's a high chance you might not go through to the knockout stage. But that's, again, there's goods and bads. I get your point as well.
No, that's totally fair. And I think, like, especially whenever we have these sort of discussions and back and forths, we kind of have to consider both of these ends of the spectrum, right? Of like, hey, what are the goods of it? What are the bads of it? And in what ways too, right? Like you have the one argument. Yes, you have smaller nations. They have the representation. They have that chance to make history in themselves. And then, you made that other counter argument where, there's those smaller nations make it, but they don't really have that same fighting chance. And you're kind of having more of a quote unquote pool of those quote unquote top teams making it to the knockouts just by default. And that definitely makes a fair point as well. But then you also have scenarios where, you kind of mentioned at the top, John, of how you could have situations where you just kind of go for ties as time goes on. But then you have this situation where it feels like every single group has like, obviously, like, with every World Cup, every group's gonna have something to play for, but some of the minor details, I think, kinda get elevated more because even though it might be, quote, unquote, "watered down," but there is that extra spot available where some of those smaller teams are gonna at least try to go for it. And John and I were just having this discussion when you disconnected for a second there of how the 48 team pool kind of has its double-edged swords, how you have more smaller teams going in, getting qualification, and you might have more of those bigger hitters getting into the knockout stage. But in doing so, you might be also watering down the talent by not having more of those potential upsets, by having this greater variety of your top to bottom, and how that can essentially just make it a little more chalk instead of more of that excitement and intrigue as the tournament goes on, like in years past.
Yeah, I mean, it does add a little bit of that, but I mean, to add to what John was saying about, some of these teams just going in with the mentality of like, oh, we can just tie, or like, honestly, we could throw this game and still qualify. I feel like this tournament, you can kind of feel that, you can sense that more than in the past, but this has always kind of been a thing. Because I mean, even before like this tournament, the previous tournament, like if you wanted to help out a certain team or like not necessarily help them out, but just put yourself in a better position so that you didn't have to play a top team, you would just lose and get second place and be like, seeded to play the number one from another group that wasn't necessarily like a stronger side in on paper, right? So so yeah, I just think it's a little more obvious this time around than in the past.
And kind of shifting gears here, guys. There's another round of games to go, and we got to talk about just some of the individual talent that's being put on display, right? Because it just seems like, and I don't know if it's maybe part of what John said of how there's maybe some of the bottom is maybe a little more separated than the top, but you still have some of these guys just ageless wonders, and they're still doing it. And you have these breakout stars, Mbappe, Messi, and heck, even Ronaldo after a tough first game, in a way, more or less silenced some critics today. At the time we're filming this, was it Tuesday afternoon? This also adds the intrigues too, because at least if you're the fan, if you're the viewer, I'm sure if you're FIFA is its entirety, John, I'm sure can say this from a player perspective that you want some of those stars in that stage. At the end of the day, you want Holland to go through, Mbappe and Ronaldo, like you want them to go through. And at least so far in this tournament, no one that has that like high level star power has really been diminished at all, and they've been able to find a way to shine, with the exception of probably Neymar because he's been injured.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
think
don't
you
know.
make
I
a
feel
great
like
point.
Argentina did well.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, I think it's been great for FIFA. This expanded format again. It's easy to say because scoring at any level against anyone in the World Cup, it's not easy thing to do. And the stars are shining. Mbappe, Haaland, Messi, Ronaldo, Lamine Yamal scored the other day. For them, it's a dream. But again, I'm just excited to see how that progresses in the knockout stages. I mean, I think there's a very high potential that Argentina will play Portugal in the quarterfinals or something like that. So I mean, that would be written in the stars. A Messi versus Ronaldo in the World Cup would be something that might be one of the most viewed games in the history of the game. So yeah, I think it's been great to see all these top stars perform because in years past, yeah, there's always I think there's always been talks about like who's this guy, and he kills it in the World Cup. And this year there's been like not that much talk about like guys that we're finding out about that we didn't know, and it's just been like the World Cup of already superstars.
I mean, like, this is just my kind of 2 cents on it, kind of going from I know I make references to other sports all the time, but there's like this gap in tennis of like the great tennis players, right? You had like your Nadal, your Federer, and your Djokovic. Djokovic still running, and then you have this giant gap in generation of like, oh, there was no like big star because these guys just dominate for so long. And I could at least make the argument that it's very similar in this sense too, because Messi's in his late 30s. I think he's 39 or he's going to turn 39 somewhere in the middle of the tournament. Ronaldo's in his 40s. And you have like some of the big names, at least in a lot of these big name teams, your Argentinas, your Brazils, whomever, they're a lot older than some of maybe their younger counterparts who have yet to make that step. And there's just not that time to have the younger guys get up there because the older guys are still doing it at that rate.
Yeah, but Mbappe has 16 goals in 16 World Cup appearances, which is absolutely insane.
No, that's
Yeah.
crazy on so many levels.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I agree. I mean, I think obviously Ronaldo scored in 6 consecutive World Cups, Messi 5 out of 6, and he's the highest goal scorer ever in World Cups. They're literally breaking every record. What they're doing is not normal. Like I'm saying, it's not diminishing scoring against Uzbekistan or scoring against Algeria or scoring against Austria, because at that level, scoring and performing the way they're doing it is insane. Like scoring goals and competing, and they're the 2 best players in history, no doubt. And the fact that we're able to enjoy them in this World Cup, I think we're so lucky. I would love to see a match against them. I think that would be iconic, legendary, kind of. I hope it. You know, the other guys, Haaland is his first World Cup too. He's not that young, but at the same time, he's plays for a really small country and he's killing it. Mbappe, insane. Like the guy's ability to score is insane. And we can talk about Lamine too. Everyone puts pressure on an 18-year-old, and like everyone talks about how Spain cannot do it without him. But whatever it is, first game he starts, he scores, puts the country in his back, and that's what big players do, and that's what the World Cup's about as well. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of beautiful moments coming soon, and you just gotta enjoy them, because it'll be history.
John, hypothetically, complete hypothetical, by the way, if everything stands as is and Argentina not only win their group, but do win their first knockout game, the round of 32 game would be in Miami. The round of 16 game would be in Atlanta. So I don't know what we've got. I don't know what type of contact and references we have here at Indie Media and FCMP, but just saying that potential's still out there, assuming that the playing schedule doesn't conflict too much.
Yeah, and I have no money, so unless you guys make a way to get some tickets, the USL player money is not gonna allow me to buy some tickets for that game because the tickets are going crazy, man. It's
They're
crazy.
insane, dude. Pull the last name card.
Yeah, I'll try. I mean, I saw a tweet too, and it was like that game, the quarterfinal game between Messi and Ronaldo, potentially in Kansas City. The cheapest ticket is like $4,000.
It's
crazy.
insane, man. It's crazy.
It's
I
just
was
gonna
gonna
get worse.
say-
But I mean, I don't want to burst your bubble, John, but the Simpsons predicted Mexico, Portugal, and it might happen at the Azteca.
That would be crazy. That would be crazy.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen at the Azteca, obviously, but that would be insane, right? Portugal, Mexico. What a vibe. John, can you tell us a little bit about that moment? Your dad posted a photo of him, lifting Pedri.
Yeah, so Pedri's been a Barca fan. His family's been a Barca fan forever, and my dad went to the Canary Islands where he's from, and they got a photo. And then actually, my dad was working for Barca when Barca signed him. He was the one to go scout him and watch him live before they made the decision to sign him. So they have that special connection, and he's my favorite player, my dad's favorite player for Spain right now. So he posted that picture, and just really cool. One of those things, and the Lamine Yamal and Messi picture. Obviously not to that extent, but
Yeah,
pretty
no,
cool.
but that was really cool though, because I saw you repost it, and then probably like 30 minutes later, so I see like the bigger accounts like picking the picture. I was like, okay, this is kind of crazy.
Pretty cool.
Boys,
Well,
Your
guys,
thoughts on?
I'm gonna have to go, but I've missed you guys. So let's connect here soon to talk more World Cup. But miss you guys. Hope you're doing well. And
You too,
let's
bro.
do this again next week.
maybe
I'm down
sooner
for
than
it.
next week, but we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see.
After the Spain game.
Sounds good. We'll talk after.
After
We'll talk
the
after
Spain
the
game.
group stage. Let's do
Yeah,
one
let's
after
do
the
it.
group
Alright.
stage. Okay.
We'll
See
see
you
you in a
guys.
bit,
I
John.
mean, see ya.
Before you sign off, I just need to go off on a bit because oh boy, what a 24 hours I've had, dude. I don't know if you can
The
tell
fuck? What'd
by
you do?
I don't know if you could tell by my hat, but but as I'm sure a lot of we've established this in the past, I live in the South Florida area now. Scotland and Brazil, they're playing their final match in the group stage down here in Miami just a few days from now. And
Oh, wait, I saw you went down there.
Yeah, I made the crazy decision. My girl and I, she didn't make the decision. I made the decision for her that we were gonna go to the Marlins game in large part to catch a vibe. And did we ever? I don't even remember what happened in the Marlins game. I'm pretty sure they lost. They did lose. I only watched the final at bat. I watched the final at bat, so I do know they lost. But those Scottish people were just such a vibe, man, and they were just so much fun. They're here till Wednesday. I met some dudes who are literally like, this is their first time in the US, and they're literally here for 2 weeks solely for this. And they spent the last 2 weeks in Boston. They're spending like 5 days down in Fort Lauderdale and Miami. And the Scottish people are no joke. Everything you've seen on social media about Scotland and their fans is 100%. It lives up to the billing 1,000% because they were that much fun to be around. And just hearing, like, I didn't know that an MLB park would allow bagpipes into a stadium.
Yeah, that's funny,
Like,
dude. Right. You know, that's a little disappointing for me because they are based here in Charlotte. And I mean, me going to the trainings, I would have expected to see a little bit of a turnout because we do have a bit of a population from Scotland. But I have not seen that. Maybe it's a little different since, this could potentially be the last week since they still haven't clinched, the Nets face either.
I mean, in case anyone doesn't know the story, or in case anyone's just really ill informed, basically Boston had to ship emergency shipments of beer because the Scottish fans went through them so quickly. So all the different breweries and bars and like whoever was serving, they had to call emergency shipments in because the Scottish fans went through them so quickly that they couldn't keep up with the demand. And I don't know how many of those Scottish fans I talked to. They basically were like, "We're gonna do it again down here in half the time," and I was like, "Oh, that's that's quite a challenge, but go for it, guys! Like, do your thing."
Yeah, South Florida has plenty of beer,
And
but we'll see.
I think I told you this too, but literally on Sunday, I'm going up. My my dad got gifted some tickets. I'm gonna try to find some stuff around there, maybe even shoot some stuff. That reminds me, I think I need to send you a bunch of the content that I shot because some of it was pretty crazy and pretty fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm going to New York for a couple of days. I'm going to a round of 32 game. So far, all I know is the winner group I. So guaranteed right now with the standings, it's Norway or France. Thank God, that's all I care about.
Could be France.
Here's the thing. I think it's gonna be France, but I hope to God it's Norway. I just want to go into the shop, buy that red Norwegian like Erling Haaland jersey, do the Viking row with them, like all that crazy. Yeah, like full Viking and everything.
That was such a vibe in New York last night.
Bro, and it's gonna be in Jersey too, yeah, I'm so excited for whatever happens there. It's probably gonna be the French, but I'd love for it to be the Norwegians, just for a straight vibe reason. That was my first. Like, I've lived down here in Fort Lauderdale, Miami for 6 years, and that was my first ever Marlins game.
And it didn't even feel like a Marlins game.
I maybe watched a combined like 4.5 innings worth of baseball.
Mexico plays, of course. Hopefully we see Memo Ochoa make his debut at this World Cup, and that could be his little bit of a send-off, given that we don't necessarily have to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, knowing him, he's still going to show us why, he's been the GOAT of the World Cup in the goalkeeper position. So I'm excited for that, but also I haven't been able to catch a vibe with the Mexican fans at any of the fan festivals just because of the times they've played. So I'm excited for tomorrow because tomorrow is going to be the first fan festival experience for me with my people. So we'll see what happens.
With my people.
Hopefully. Dude, I've been out there with everybody's people except mine. It's been, finally tomorrow.
Maybe
maybe
what we need to do is maybe what you need to do is instead of going to a Mexican establishment, go to a South Korean establishment.
No, I'm going to the fan festival in Atlanta.
No, because I was talking about how like in the street. Oh no, that's gonna be jammed. But I was talking about how like in down in like Guadalajara and how down in Mexico City, just all the Mexican people and the Korean people, they're just like up in arms and like they're just like partying with each other. They're like, I know there's like historical context because of the I think 2018 World Cup where Korea eliminated Germany, sending Mexico in. I believe that was
Yeah,
the context.
that's what it was. Yeah, and then
And
Germany got eliminated.
and then Germany got eliminated, putting Mexico in through the knockouts, and like that is one
Yeah,
of the key catalysts, and like why Mexico and like the South Korean fans, they're just like they've become one, basically,
yeah, but
and
also
like
like South Koreans drink. They can drink, and that's the other thing Mexicans do. They drink.
I mean, so can
So
I
I
mean
think
I can't speak on South Korea specifically. Like my family's Vietnamese, but like a lot of Asian
you guys can
cultures,
drink
especially
too.
especially a lot of Southeastern Asian cultures, like we're very much in the same, and I think that's why like those two cultures and those two fan bases have got along so well because they know there's so many similarities between them, and
Yeah.
like I don't know, that's just hilarious. If you want to, Emmanuel, if you're gonna go down there to Atlanta for the Fan Fest, you better have a couple of shout outs to the South Koreans as well because who knows, man, maybe actually, maybe don't. We don't want to put you in the doghouse. I take that back.
Nah, where should we go? Where should we go? I'm gonna have a lot of fun. I'm gonna take my Mexico jersey tomorrow since, Fan Festival, I can be a fan. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun for me. I'll have a lot of fun. I'll record some of that. I might just call you, do a little live session real quick, like maybe an hour before the game, get some vibes behind us. We'll see what happens, man. We're excited. Prediction for today. England's playing right now. You see them winning this game. Yeah, but no, I also saw one where like there's a possibility that Mexico ends up playing Spain, which I wanted to bring up while John was on, on the feed, but that one's interesting. That would suck for Mexico. Because I mean I really don't see us beating Spain with the talent they got going on right now and in that midfield, the way they control it. I don't see us. I feel like our weakest link is the midfield right now. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But we'll
I
see. You
mean,
never know.
I think you guys would be pretty fine for the most part. I do want to present one more like really fun decision day scenario, which is like, who would have thought in like of all possible scenarios. Like, I am sure that Fox or FIFA or whoever does the scheduling did this on purpose of having Norway and France be the last game of the group stage. But the fact that it's for the group between those two, and then you have the addition of, Mbappe and Holland and just Norway and France, like that is going to be
Yeah.
insane. Like, I personally going to have my eyes glued on that game because I want to know who I'm watching when I go up to New York or when I go up to New Jersey, technically. But like,
No, but that would be a good
like,
one because we get Mbappe versus Haaland at the World Cup. You know?
no, it's crazy. It's gonna be crazy on so many levels, and like, decision day is always crazy. Like, even Portugal, they play Colombia, who are gonna be no slouches. I'm looking through the decision day schedule right now. Like, what's gonna be intriguing? Like, Portugal versus Colombia on Friday, which is the last day. Croatia and Ghana, like one of those teams is just going to barely survive off the skin of their teeth. Spain, Uruguay, like the USA and possibly Mexico, they're going to rest their starters, especially with yellow card accumulation coming into play and how there's likely going to be a new look in this third game. But I think Chicharito was actually the one who said it, how it's like, if you get these young guys, their World Cup debuts, you get them some minutes, you let them play, you get them get in the rhythm and the flow, and down the line, your depth might be tested, how using that as a third place game could be like a really helpful strategy, especially for a team like Mexico, the
Yeah,
US.
it could be because, like I said, I mean, it's not for us. It's not a deciding game because we were blessed to win the first two. So, like Hit said, it's a good opportunity to get what would I call it? Their first time GVs, whatever, out of the way right now. Because I mean, even
Hmm.
even I believe it was Olmo for Spain who brought up the fact that the first game it was it was a lot of young guys who were experienced in their first World Cup. Like emotions were high, adrenaline was high, so that could have played a factor in the way that they played that ended up in a 0-0. So he mentioned that. So if we can go ahead and get that out the way as well for Mexico, for some of the younger guys who have never been to a World Cup, that would be very helpful. Let's say in the next round, if some of the older guys were to be injured or something like that. So what Chicharito said makes a lot of sense. And I mean, hopefully we do see it. Because again, it's not a crucial game for us. We can afford to lose it. Maybe we shouldn't lose it, but we can afford to lose it. And that would be a good use of the game, even if we do lose it, you know?
Yeah, of course. And, of course, like what we always say, we always have to wait and find out. It's all decision days. It's all double, like split screens the entire way through. Like, get your double monitors out, get
Yes.
your split screens out, your spare laptop, your tablet, whatever, because every game from here on
Your
out is
kid's
going to have 2-in-1s. I
No,
mean, to
it's
be
gonna be
fair,
exciting.
well, E, it was great to have you and John back on, especially John. His presence was much missed on this show. E, it was great getting a chance to talk to you again and talk all things World Cup. And for John Emmanuel, I'm Ryan Lee. Thank you so much for joining all of us. Follow along for the rest of FCMP. Subscribe to keep up with the latest episodes. And thank you so much for following along. We'll see you in the next one. And with our release schedule, it should be sooner, much rather than later. I'll talk to you guys in a bit.
Boom.